Hello and welcome, my partners in crime. Welcome back to Murder Analysed. Now we're on case 9 of this 20-day challenge that we're doing for the missing, and it's to highlight all these missing cases from all across the world and different places, different people, different ages, one or multiple people that have gone missing. So thank you for joining me again today, and let's get on with this case. And today's case is Ruth Wilson case. She was a British teenager actually, and she disappeared from Betchworth near Dorking in Surrey from England, and she disappeared on the 27th of November 1995. And as of really today, her disappearance has not been solved. So it's been quite a long time actually since anything was heard of about this girl. Now, before we actually go into the facts of her case, I'd like to go over just a little bit of her background, really, her family life and stuff, because I think that could be important in this case. So, Ruth Wilson is the daughter of Ian and I think it's Nesta Wilson. Now, her mother was born in Wellingborough on the 1st of May 1948 and was given the name Nesta by her adoptive parents, so her mother was adopted. Now, Ian and Nesta were married in 1976 in Newport. When Wilson was 4 years old, her sister Jenny was only a few months old, and her mother then died. Now, according to the story that was told to these kids, Ruth in particular, because she was the older, the family sort of said that her death was a result of this accidental fall down the stairs, and that the death certificate actually recorded it as suicide. Now, she didn't find this out only until a few weeks before she went missing. So this is, in this part, I am going to talk about suicide and different things, and this could have some relation to why Ruth has gone missing. And so there is a trigger warning out as we go on through this case. So the death certificate states that she died actually by hanging on the 10th of December 1982. Now, unbeknownst to her family, Wilson had become aware of this. So Ruth Wilson had become aware of these facts, really. As kids get older, it's more and more difficult, isn't it, to try and hide the truth, no matter how much you're trying to protect them children. Sometimes it is best to be open right from quite a young age, not telling exactly what happened, but not also lying either, to try and protect the child, because later on in life, as with Ruth, when she found this out, she was absolutely devastated that all her life she thought her mother had died of an accident, and it turns out actually that it was suicide by hanging. So it was quite a bit of a shock to her, and that really is what she found out just before she disappeared. So it could have some relevance in her disappearance. By 1983, her father Ian had married Karen, and I don't know, a lot of kids don't get on with their step-parents, they just don't, and sometimes that can be for many, many reasons, but it seemed that she sort of didn't get on with them, that's what her sort of friends say, that she didn't really like the stepmother and stuff like this. But that could just be teenage years, that could be lots of different issues, or it could be that she really just didn't like her for one reason or another. Now, both of Ruth's father and stepmother were both teachers. Her teacher worked as a father, a head of science actually at a secondary school, while her stepmother was a deputy head of a primary school. So listen, they work with kids, they know about kids, they'd had enough training with kids, but when you're talking about your own kid, it's a lot different, isn't it, from dealing with somebody else's, really. So I think there was a lot of stuff going on in Ruth's life leading up to her disappearance, but whether it was a disappearance that she decided to run off and herself, or whether there was some other reason or some sinister reason why this girl has never been heard of till this day. I think her father was also, he served as a local parish councillor. They lived in a village in a cottage in this Betchworth in Surrey at the time of their disappearance. Now, Surrey is a beautiful area, it's like countryside and everything, and I think where she went was this Box Hill was where she disappeared, and I'll show you some maps and photographs of it. But it's countryside. It's not a city, it's countryside. It's very, very nice, very, very nice place to live. But I think probably easy as well to walk off and do things that you want to do. And would it be difficult to find you if someone looked for you quite quickly? No, not really. Not in 1995. Is it absolutely possible that someone could find you if you had taken your own life and wandered off up there? Maybe. They may not have been able to find you. Really, we just don't know. But it is these wooded countryside areas, and that there's lots of places, I suppose, where things can happen. Now, Ruth really enjoyed like the guitar. She played an electric guitar. She played the piano. She had a Saturday job working at a music shop. And she was popular actually as a local babysitter in the area. So she had a lot going on in this area. She had a lot of friends and stuff like this. She was studying her A-levels, sixth form. So, she was doing quite well, but I think she was struggling with her A-levels. There's a big jump, isn't there, from your GCSEs or your earlier studies, then you get to A-levels. There's lots going on when you get to A-levels. Your hormones and that are changed in your body. Everything's going on. You're trying to study a higher level of education. Then you find out, as Ruth did, that her mother's death was not an accident but a suicide. So there's lots of things at the moment now going on in this girl's mind, isn't there, that could have caused her to take herself away. Well, any of them reasons, or all of them, or it could be none of them. Now listen, this girl's personality, actually, she was in a local church choir. She used to ring the bells, so she would do the bell ringing. She enjoyed playing the organ and the piano, as I've said. This girl was a talented girl, really. Now, her school friends have described her as being intelligent and quirky personality, with a small but close-knit friends. Not loads, but a small group of friends that were very, very close. Now, it was how they found out about how she found out actually about her mother's death was around October 1995, and this was according to one of her very close friends, that Ruth sort of developed this belief that she was being lied to about her mother, and that her biological mother's death wasn't what it was made out to be. Now, this is what happens, as I've said before, when you hold back information as these kids are getting older. And then they start getting suspicious and they start wondering why you're lying to them. So this was on her mind. She had told people about this. She was really, really, wanted to know. So actually she travelled to London and she then went to get her mother's death certificate to prove really her own theories and thoughts on why her mother's death was really playing on her mind. And that's when she really then found out, and it would have been a terrible, terrible shock. This school friend or another school friend, very close member, they're a very small group of people that she knew, very close friends, had said that Ruth had run away about a month before that from home, and this was before she actually finally did disappear for good, and she sort of hid out in a house actually in this village of Betchworth. Now, this friend also was due to move to Sheffield, Yorkshire, and Wilson had asked if she could go with her. So Ruth wanted then to move away with a friend to Sheffield. She said she just wanted to get away. And she really, asked could she come once they'd settled in. And the friend said, of course, once we've settled in, you can come. So Wilson went missing a few weeks after this girl left for Sheffield. They moved away and they relocated. And then she did go down there, I think, for one night, slept over, and the family recalled, actually, this girl's family recalled that she was, adamant that she didn't want to go back home, but she had to because she was doing these A-levels and everything else. But Ruth was adamant that she didn't want to go back home, that she wanted to stay there, and this was literally only weeks before she disappeared. Her friends then said, and the mum of this girl said, she never really explained why she didn't want to be at home. She just didn't. She just wanted to move on. Now, as I've said, it could be the pressure from everything that's going on. She no longer trusted her father. He'd lied to her. Kids look at things different ways. She's now found out that her mother has committed suicide. her education is failing. These were both teachers. You know, here's the head of science. This girl is struggling to do an A-level. There's a lot of pressure on these kids at school to achieve well. Now, they may not have meant to put so much pressure on her, but that's how she may have been feeling at that time. Everything now is coming on top of this girl, because if she's telling her friends and their parents that she doesn't want to live at home, she wants to move away, she's already tried to run away a month before, then there is issues here going on in this family. Now, whether the family recognise them issues or not, it's unclear, isn't it? But it is said, you know, that everyone has said, even her friends have said, at that point she was not suicidal at all herself. She was adamant she didn't want to be at home, but she was, and she was unhappy at being at home, but she was not suicidal at all. So on Saturday, just before her disappearance, Ruth worked in the music shop, as she'd done in Woking. Then she went for a meal with her ex-boyfriend, Will Kennedy, and another friend, Neil Phillipson. And now Kennedy and Phillipson both stated that Wilson paid for the meal and told them it would be something to remember her by. That's what she told them. Now, she also then went on to do the handbell practice at her local church on the Sunday. She went to the youth group in Dorking and then went back to Kennedy's house for supper. Her mother gave her some old clothing, and the family said, you know, his family said that she was very relaxed and happy about these clothes and stuff. She accepted them, she took them. Not someone who you think is going to go off and kill themselves. Someone that you may think is going to go off and run away because she said something to remember me by, but not in the way where she's going to take her own life, I think. So on the day of her disappearance, her parents left, or the dad and the stepmother left for work early on that day of her disappearance, leaving Wilson and her sister Jenny to catch the school bus. Now, Ruth's father had an Ofsted inspection at the school where he worked as this head of science department and was in a hurry to leave. And he recalls actually that he saw Ruth listening, you know, with, you know, standing around with her Walkman. And as he left home, he had been in such a stressful mood, and that he says really, that his last words to her were, you know, out of my way, I'm in a hurry, as he pushed past her. Now, I am a teacher, I have, you know, a lecturer and stuff, and this in Ofsted, when you have these Ofsted stuff, you are stressed and everything. And this man did not know that this was the last time he was going to see his daughter, did he? So to me, that's a normal household running. You know, you've got a kid hanging around listening to a, you know, Walkman. He's stressing out trying to get to work and everything. He brushes past her and says, listen, get out my way and stuff. And he feels really guilty about that, the last things that he said to her. But really, when you think about what you do in the morning, you know, and we're all rushing around to get to work, and especially when you're under pressure from Ofsted and that, to have these, you know, schools looked at and whether you're doing everything right at school, there's a lot of pressure on him at that time. So I can understand that, you know, I can understand it. So to me, that's not abnormal. I mean, and he said this is what happened, and he definitely feels terrible about how he left that house. But this is what I say about when people go missing. You know, sometimes there is no warnings, is there? Most of the time, actually, you don't think that's going to be the last interaction you're going to have with someone, do you? Not really. So be careful. Always say goodbye nicely, I think, is the thing to do, really. So at this last moment, just before they was meant to leave for school, Ruth told Jenny, her sister, that she wasn't going on the bus. So Jenny was not surprised about that, because when you're doing A-levels, you don't go in at specific times. It's not, you know, 9 till 5 or 9 till 3, whatever school is at these days. It's not that. She was in sixth form, so she didn't have to come every day the same time as normal kids do. So I just thought, oh, I wish you could have told me earlier. Anyway, she's gone off to school thinking nothing of it. So on that day, that was the last time then that her sister Jenny saw her as well. Because even Ruth said, I'll see you later, I'll catch up with you later. She didn't. She never went to school that day, even though she was meant to go. She didn't, which is very uncharacteristic for her not to go. She didn't. So at around 11:30 a.m, Wilson took a taxi into Dorking. Around midday, she ordered flowers for her stepmother. And no one really knows why. Wilson asked for them, or Ruth asked for them, not to be delivered until a week later, the following Wednesday, later, specific on the date they needed to be there. She spent the afternoon in Dorking Library. At around 4 p.m, she took a taxi from Dorking railway station to Box Hill. She was dropped off there on the Bridleway, with a short walk away, really, from the Hand in Hand pub, which is now the Box Tree pub, I think, on Box Hill. The taxi driver did state, actually, that Wilson displayed unusual behaviour in the way that she simply just stood there. She got out the taxi, she paid the taxi, got out the taxi, and she just stood there. Now, it was raining. Now, he says, as he drove off, it was like she was waiting for someone. She just stood there. He said, you know, people usually walk away, you know, when you're dropped off there. They usually just walk away because they know where they're going or going somewhere. She didn't. She just stood there. And he looked around, and you know, he said she did. She looked like she was waiting for someone, and really, and that was it. That was the last person, actually, I think, to see her was at 4:30 p.m. on that day. Now, at the time of her disappearance, she was wearing a knitted jumper, black velvet trousers, black pixie boots, small lady's watch on her left wrist. She had a small blue duffel bag with a personal stereo and tapes in it. Now, Leon McAudrey, now he's a 58-year-old retired police officer investigating the disappearance, observed that Wilson was dressed to get into another car. Really, she wasn't really dressed to go walking in Box Hill. Was she arranged to meet someone there, dropped off at 4:30? If she was going to disappear, why didn't she disappear at 11:30? Why go to the library first? Why would she do that? Then she, you know, ordered these flowers for her stepmother, and one of her friends said, it's like, you know, up yours to the stepmother. I don't think Ruth was planning to kill herself, really. I think Ruth was planning to run off with someone, maybe. And at 4:30, when she was dropped off by that taxi, that's why she stood there, because she was waiting for that person to come. And obviously, I think someone did. But anyway, this police officer, he said, you know, she wasn't dressed for that. Not for that walking around like that. She just wasn't. So I think the question is here, was there a third person involved in this? Third party, probably. Right? Of course there was. I think there was. Now, was it made to look like, because there were certain things found out, you know, about her disappearance. I think they found some alcohol and some tablets and stuff just left by. But if you had committed suicide up on this hill, and you drunk your drink, your alcohol, and you took your tablets, so you wouldn't have been able to go that far from them tablets. So you're giving actually a search team a radius, aren't you, of where they're going to find you in this. Was it made to look like that? You know, I think there's some issues here with this. Listen, we all know from the facts that have been given here with this, that Ruth did feel that she was lied to by her family. She was under a lot of pressure with her schoolwork. She wasn't happy at home. She didn't like her stepmother for one reason or another, right? She didn't like her. That's it. Her mother had died. She then found out why. It was all added, you know, all building up, I think, for Ruth. But was it building up enough to make us think that she could have took her own life? Or was it adding up enough to where she had met someone, kept it a bit quiet, or someone knows close to her where she is, but has just never said? I mean, I'm going to have to leave this one up to you, because I really don't know. With all the facts that we've got about this girl, you know, from the day that she went missing, that's been it, really. There's been nothing on her at all. Nothing. So listen, you've got this police, I'm telling you, this police, you know, on this, at night, Surrey Police organised a search for Ruth with helicopters, police dogs, heat-seeking equipment, in case she had taken this, drink and alcohol and tablets and falling asleep out in the wilderness, and they don't want to get hypothermia, you're out, you need to find this girl if she's still alive. They searched Box Hill around this area, but no solid clues were found of her whereabouts at all. And it was, as I said, discovered that when she went to Box Hill after school, that she also was concerned about her performance at school. She'd kept her last school report from her parents or her father that weekend because she was failing, she didn't want them to know. So I think on the 29th of November, 2 days after the disappearance, the flowers that were ordered by Ruth then were delivered to the stepmother, and that was even described by Ian as an expensive bunch of flowers, right? It was a bouquet. It was a bouquet, it wasn't cheap. Whoever's ordered these flowers had some money, really. If you're going to run away and do this, that and the other, and you want to say thumbs up to you, or finger up to your stepmother because you don't like her, well, you wouldn't buy an expensive bunch of flowers, would you, and have them sent? You just wouldn't. There was lots of different things here that doesn't add up with this case. So on the Friday, the 1st of December, 4 days after her disappearance, as it was reported by the Times newspaper on the 29th of December 1995, police found, they say, 3 notes hidden under bushes and in the undergrowth at the top edge of the Betchworth quarry on Box Hill. So the notes amounted to this farewell to her parents, her best friends and stuff. Right, this is what they're saying that was found up there. A teenage boy said, or that she knew, also found empty packets of paracetamol tablets, half-empty bottle of Firmouth, which is like a martini sort of drink. The police have also never really divulged the contents of these notes to the public, so I can't have a look at them. So on Saturday the 2nd of December, 5 days after the disappearance, a large-scale search again was organised by the police, fire and the rescue services, in which it also included 60 volunteers, comprising of local members of public, school friends, colleagues, wardens from the National Trust. This search is utilised also with the police helicopters, tracker dogs, thermal imaging equipment. A detailed search of this quarry at the end of Box Hill was undertaken by trained search teams and rescue teams, along with employees and owners of the quarry itself. Now, Mark Williams-Thomas, now, he does a lot of different stuff, and he's got a podcast as well. We've talked about him differently. He was a family liaison officer with the Wilson case and stated that extensive search across Box Hill had yielded no evidence to suggest that she was killed or took her own life. So now he was an ex-police officer. He went then into private investigation, and I think we've talked about him when we talk about different things. He's the one that broke the Jimmy Savile case. So listen, this man ain't stupid, right? He knows what he's talking about. So you've also had this massive search of this area. Listen, these notes, this half bottle empty of Firmouth and some paracetamol isn't going to kill you, right? It's just not. This girl had planned her disappearance, I believe. I don't believe this girl has took her own life in any way. I believe this was set up by her and probably somebody else. Really, I just can't see it being that, even though it's made to look like that she's took her own life up there. I just don't see it. Anyway, he also stated that he was sure that Ruth was not abducted by a stranger. Williams-Thomas also stated that from the experience that he has, it would suggest that there's 2 things occurred. Either she went up there to meet somebody, which I think she did, and she has subsequently gone away, or that she went up there to die in some other way. But because there's no evidence of her dying in some other way, or finding her up there with all this search which was going on, I think it was the latter. I think that she actually went up there to meet someone, and that was it. She's gone. Now, Ian and Karen, her father and stepmother, on the 8th of December 1995, done an appeal actually for Ruth on ITV Network mid-morning, the programme This Morning. to appeal for information, and they stated that they believe that their daughter is still alive, but she's afraid to come home. The police assigned a code name, Operation Scholar, I think, to this case. It's an ongoing missing case, isn't it? It's unsolved missing because they can't find a body, even though there were certain amounts of evidence left around that made it look like she'd, took her own life. There is no evidence of that really, other than these small little things that's laying around as if it was placed there, really. Not something that if you was going to commit suicide like that, I suppose you would do. I just, it's really, really a strange case, this one. But really it comes down to a few things, doesn't it? So either Ruth had enough of everything that was going on in her life. She was failing her A-levels. She had parents that were teachers, and maybe she felt that she couldn't tell them she was failing because she had hid, hadn't she, her report card. She had found out also that she had been lied to, and this is how she felt about it, that about her mother's death, that was always said was an accident, and that wasn't done to harm, that was only done to protect this child from it. It turned out that she took that really, really difficult. And so that's, I suppose, what you could say then. Maybe, she wasn't happy at home and all this sort of stuff, and being a teenager with all these hormones going through your body, all these different thoughts that she may have been having may have made her feel that it was time to end her own life. Okay, there's a possibility. Do I think that's a possibility here for her? In my opinion, no, but it's a possibility. And if no other people are coming through with any other evidence and stuff about why they believe that she had done that, it would have been her closest friends, this close-knit group of people that would know more about her true feelings about that. But they've said, haven't they, actually, that she wasn't suicidal, unless they're holding back for one reason or another. We don't know. Did she have someone else that she was meeting there that no one knew about? And she had got this taxi because she didn't leave her home at 11:30 in the morning to go to Box Hill. She left at 11:30 to go and order some flowers. Then she went to the library before then going into Dorking, getting a taxi from the train station up to Box Hill. What was she doing in the library? What was she researching? What was she looking at places to go? She was waiting, you see, until 4:30. What, to meet someone? We don't know. Was they finishing work then? Was this an adult? Is this someone that she knew for quite a long while? Someone that said to her, I'll help you if you don't want to be here, I'll help you get away. And that's what happened. We don't know, but we do know, I think, it wasn't an abduction. I think we can say that for clear. Now, so the other scenario is if she did do that and she went off and to start a new life, and she is scared to come home and say anything and contact anyone, that if she could just contact missing persons and say something about herself that only they would know, to make sure they know it's her. And then this would end the heartache, wouldn't it, for all the people around her that don't know what's happened to her. If that isn't the case and you have any information what happened to Ruth Wilson, can you please state what you know? Tell someone, because isn't it time that this case was put to rest one way or the other? Now, it is possible, I suppose, that if Ruth did take her own life, that she's stuck up on Box Hill in a place that no one found her, but it wasn't through lack of searching. So really, this is a very strange case, this, because really since that day of her disappearance, no one's ever heard of her since. Now, even if you think that her friends may have known about it, someone would usually have spoke by now about what they know. I always say loyalties change, don't they? So if you did help Ruth to plan her disappearance, just say it. People would rather know now. Right? People would rather know. If you know where she is, just say. If you know that you feel that she was suicidal and she had planned to take her own life, just say it. Just say it. Because really, for Ruth, all this needs to end. For Ruth's family, this needs to end. For her friends, it needs to end, doesn't it? Everyone needs closure now on this case. It's been going on a very long time now. So on the 27th of November 1995, Ruth Wilson, literally, this teenager, this young girl, left her home and has never been seen again since. Not really. No official sightings of her, nothing. Nothing. So if you know anything, it's time to say. It's time to end this case once and for all. So you know what to do. If you found this case interesting, you can put the thumbs up and subscribe and do all that. But more importantly is that you can share this case. You can talk about this case. And if you know anything about this disappearance of Ruth, just make sure you make your information known. So as usual, I will be leaving throughout, or put throughout these cases, all the different ways that you can talk to someone about what you know. As I've said, loyalties change. People may know something, and they may have known something then, and they want to speak now about it. Because secrets, you see, can be very hard to keep. They can eat away at you, can't they? And sometimes it's always best to say what you know. And if Ruth is out there, please contact someone, Ruth. It's really important that you do that. And so people know if you're safe, that you're in no trouble. You're never going to be in any trouble. But people really would like to know if you're safe and well. So thank you for watching. Until the next time. Bye-bye.